What's up, super fans? It is Fit Nerd from Superheroes Ultimate. Welcome to another episode of Heroes Finest, where we review, reveal, and discuss all the latest and the greatest in the superhero realm. And today we're going to be discussing Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or as I like to call it, Falcon and the Bucky Show. And today joining me we have the Flash Fanatic. What's up, Flash Fanatic?
Hey, Fit Nerd, how you doing?
Pretty damn good. We are out of the WandaVision, and now we have Mephisto in Falcon and Bucky show.
The Falcon
Mephisto is there, I tell you. Mephisto is there. Bucky is Mephisto.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, it looks like it's going great. I'm actually a little disappointed there's only 6 episodes to it.
Yeah, and the budget is actually only $5 million less than WandaVision, and WandaVision got 3 additional episodes for $5 million more on the budget.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that equates per episode, but it's pretty expensive to have 6 episodes and a budget of $220 million.
Well, I think maybe there's no evidence toward this, but since WandaVision kind of was didn't really use a lot of grand effects until really the last episode, I think that what this show is because this is a lot more action, a lot more big sets. You know, you have trucks running down freeways, big explosions, buildings collapsing. You have so much going on there, so it makes more sense that the stuff that's going to be more action-packed will have more of a budget to that, or bigger budget, compared to WandaVision, where for the most part a lot of it was smart editing. I actually watched I think it's Avengers Assemble. I think it's the behind the scenes. They had it with WandaVision, and it was so cool, just showing like how a lot of the special effects, they used practical effects. They used a lot of the things that they did back in the day for WandaVision. I know we're not talking too much about that today, but yeah, if you watch it, there's you have in the beginning, Wanda's making dinner for the boss that comes to visit her place, and everything's kind of up in the air, held up in the air, and all right, there's there's the eggs, there's the chicken, there's the thing, there's this, there's that. All of that is actually connected on strings. It's amazing.
What?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the magical 10th episode, which, by the way, everyone thought it was an actual 10th episode part of the show, and it wasn't really a 10th episode. It was a behind-the-scenes episode.
Yeah, I guess
that was episode number 10.
Let's dive in.
If you guys have not seen Falcon and the Bucky Show, episode 1 or 2, warning, this is your warning, there's spoilers ahead. If you have not seen the episode 1 or 2 yet, pause it, subscribe, and come back to it later.
Oh, this one opened up actually a little surprising that they didn't. At least I don't think I saw it. The Marvel Cinematic opening sequence that they have, the 10-year Marvel Cinematic thing, didn't start there. It was quite an open on who soon we'll find out may become U.S. agents.
U.S. agents. Yeah, I mean, they kind of. I love how the Marvel in the MCU is using a lot of the comic book references and using bits and pieces from everywhere to make it into the MCU. Like U.S. agents, John Walker, does take over the mantle for a time when Steve Rogers retired. He didn't want to have anything to do with the government. But here's the little tiny thing that in the comics, Captain America does become the U.S. agent for a bit also. They just didn't go that route. They went with the Nomad version, which is Infinity War, and the black suit with the no star, because that's the one that went against the government. He didn't agree with them. And then we got now this guy, the bootleg Captain America. In his mythos, in the comics, he's supposed to go crazy. And I'm totally thinking, I'm assuming that here we're going to go through some scenarios where he is going to go and be crazy.
Yeah. And I actually want to point something out, and the cap of Captain America actually doesn't, if you look at it, it doesn't necessarily fit his face well. And I
it looks
think,
goofy.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting. I was like, that's a smart way of kind of making the audience feel a little uncomfortable. Like, oh, okay, like, all right, if I'm just following this, all right, is this the new Captain America that we're supposed to be rooting for? And just to look at him, it feels a little off. Chris Evans
feels cringy.
Yeah,
I was
a little cringy.
I felt creepy when I saw it. I was like, ew.
Yeah. So I think that's just a smart way, and obviously, like, I'm sure all these actors are kind of fitted to see how they're going to look, because after all of this, it's really like, how do you look in the costume? That's going to be the big thing a lot of people are going to say is like, yes, I like the show, or no, I like the show, but yeah, he looked good. He looked like what he looks like in the comic books. So that was a small thing. I wanted to actually point out something just to what you were saying before about what kind of scenarios is going to turn into, that he may turn into the U.S. agent, or is going to turn into a U.S. agent. But one of the lines said really early on by, I think it's Battlestar.
Lamar Hoskins.
Well, basically, he comes in and is trying to talk up John, who's sitting in the room just waiting for, getting ready, going to suit up in the new Captain America, quote-unquote Captain America outfit. And one of the lines he says is that you can't punch away your problems as he's leaving the room. And just got me thinking, I actually Googled that statement because I was really, I kind of like those one-liners, things you may be in a comic book, but this actually, I just Googled it. The first thing came up was psychologytoday.com, which is kind of fun. But it said you can't punch away your anger, which is, I guess, a very similar type of thought process, like kind of like a punching bag. Like you try to take your, energy out, your anger out on a punching bag. But in this case, someone else could be the punching bag. Someone else may be like another hero, maybe Falcon, maybe Bucky. But I thought that was just a really interesting way of thinking about it and showing that maybe he's going to have these anger issues. What are your takes on ways that can happen? How he can actually, turn to the dark side?
Oh, he's definitely going to turn to the dark side. Well, first thing is that it doesn't look like he's gone through the super soldier program, which there's going to be a lot of super soldiers in this show. And just referencing to the comics, where he does go into this program and he does actually go through these anger issues and basically goes nuts and starts disobeying orders and goes through like a major ego trip, which is not the way Captain America and his ideals are. As you said, I believe you stated that, the Captain America moralities and what he stood for and his ideals.
I guess another good example, or later in the episode, after they lose the battle on the top of the trucks and stuff on the highway, they're walking back, which it's funny. I was watching it with my dad, and my dad's literally saying, "Well, why can't he fly? Like, why are they walking?
Right.
Why?"
I thought the same thing. I'm like, maybe because he didn't want to hold Bucky's hands while flying. Is the only conclusion I came up.
Maybe, I don't know. Or maybe he just wanted to, it felt like he needed to be by his side. He says something when they are in the caravan and they're going, continuing down the road. There's this little bit of dialogue between Red Wing. They say, "Oh, how'd you find them? How'd you find the villains?" It's like, "No, we didn't find the villains. We found you. We're tracking you on Red Wing." And it's like, "What? You hacked me?" It's like, actually, no. We used, Red Wing technically is owned by the government. You work for us, and that means you kind of work for me. That's kind of what he was saying. And then he follows up by a line, which I thought was really interesting, and it was essentially saying I'm the government. I don't remember the exact quote that he said, but it was something to the point of I'm the government. You work for me. And to me, I thought that was really interesting, into a contrast between him and what Captain America in the first Avenger movie kind of like represented. He wasn't saying I don't think he ever said like I'm the government or I represent what the government is. It's no, I represent what America is, and there's a big difference. In the America, you're talking about the people, the liberties, what the people want, versus what does the government want, and I think that's a big difference. Even the names, when you think about U.S. Agent and Captain America, they're as different as night and day, obviously, but
one's an agent.
Yeah, one's an agent of the U.S. I thought there was a really interesting contrast. Now, we talked about anger, and when people have anger problems, what usually happens? They go see a therapist. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to see a therapist or anything. I'm sure that's not where the show wants to go with us. But I think it's important to like point out how he is kind of dealing with all this stress and all this expectation, and that contrast to Bucky. And Bucky is like seeking out help. He wants to get better. He doesn't want to be the Winter Soldier. He wants to kind of be what his alias was in Wakanda, the White Wolf. Like, he wants to be calm. He doesn't want he doesn't want to be wrong. He doesn't want, later in the episode, he doesn't want to be what Steve Rogers, to be wrong when he said, like, you can be better. You could be, a symbol of hope for people. That's what Bucky's issue was with Falcon, with Anthony Mackie's character.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of realism. There's a lot of realistic takes as far as being a veteran or being a soldier, and then all the PTSD that people go through. The White Wolf is still sleeping on the floor in an empty apartment with just a couch and a TV, and he's been fighting for 90 years. Literally, he's been killing and missions and non-stop for 90 years. He still has this all in his mind, and he literally doesn't know any other way besides the last time that we saw him on a date, and a double date in the first Avenger with Captain America, Steve Rogers. That was the last time we saw him as a normal person. So 90 years to come back to the real world, he has no idea how the hell to do that.
A good point to just bring up even is that little Easter egg. I think when he calls him Gandalf.
Where are you fighting now, Gandalf?
In the thing, and he says, and he's, I mean, just like, I know it's not all the way in there, but that kind of made me laugh a little bit. Like,
I love that line. I love that scene.
Yeah, and he's like, oh yeah, and it's like, Gandalf from The Hobbit. He's like, oh yeah, you mean that book that came out in 1943? Yeah, I read that book. Like, look, when it was first released. Like, it was like, yeah, say what you want. Like, I don't really care. So
Bucky's a deep down real nerd.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Oh yeah,
he's a Hobbit. He likes Lord of the Rings. He read The Hobbit. Come on, he was an OG nerd. Isaiah Bradley, which is the original Captain America, which in the comics, from the comic sources, he was Project Number 1. And if you guys are familiar with Weapon X program, he was Project 10. And these are the same group of the government that were experimenting on superhumans or finding out soldiers and how to make them more powerful. Bradley was amongst one of the first ones to be a super soldier before Captain America. And the weird thing is that no one really knew about him, not even Cap, that the Winter Soldier didn't tell him.
Yeah, Bucky
Isaiah actually ended up in jail. In the comics, he went to jail for 17 years for doing something good. What he did was he stole Captain America's outfit, he took his shield, he went to fight a bunch of Nazis against Hitler. One, which by the way, in this fight, is actually the one that they're talking about when he's talking to the Winter Soldier about whooping his ass. That is actually the scenario where he whooped his ass fighting against Nazis. And because he did that, he actually won. When he came back, the government wasn't happy with how he did things, and they put him in jail for 17 years. In the MCU, it's 30 years. Yet, here's the kicker, Captain America did the same exact shit in First Avenger, and he got the hero treatment. Isaiah did not.
So, a bit of essentially racial profiling.
Yeah, the realistic take is just so much on point. It's hitting all the right numbers, and I love that they're really sticking to what originally was written in the comics.
So when they are walking away from Isaiah and Eli, which we'll get to in a bit, Sam Wilson and Bucky get stopped by a couple of police officers, and they think that they're starting to have trouble. And I think that was a very impactful scene, especially because it translates really well to more of the kind of the real world. That does happen in the real world. People do get profiled on the street, and I think that is a very important point to note out, is that that does happen when you're not, especially if you are anyone really. But in this case, I think they were trying to highlight people who are celebrities, people who are athletes or movie stars, that even though or an Avenger.
He's a
if you're not
Avenger.
If you're not in your costume, you're
Bucky
just another man on the street.
Yo, do you know who this is? Oh snap, they're Avengers.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, they stated both of them as being Avengers.
Yeah.
I caught on to that tiny little nudge as an Easter egg, because he's never really been an Avenger for, say, the Winter Soldier.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think now they're all on the same side. I think before there was, if you think chronologically through the movies, he was the Winter Soldier, then Civil War happened, then Infinity War and Endgame. At this point, he's fighting along with everyone else for the side of good. Actually, even wanted to mention, that was kind of slightly touched on in the first episode as well, when him and his sister went to get the loan, and he was like there, and the guy's like, I'm trying to place you, man, and like he's like, I don't know what we could do for you, I'm sorry, like I don't know, and then he's like, oh yeah, you're the Falcon, what up guy, and then like he looks, he's like, yeah, so you think you could do something for me, and he's like, nah, like you don't get paid. Like, or like, it's like, you don't have like what's your credit, man? Like, it's like, oh, Goodwill's my credit.
And I don't even understand that. Wait, is he flying around doing all these missions pro bono work? Like, is he volunteering to do this and that? How does he eat?
Yeah, I think that's like a very big thing. Like, especially like, how do you make like Peter Parker? When you look at like some people, some of the heroes, they are working. Peter Parker's a photographer. That's how he makes. That's what the whole like first.
Although Peter Parker is quite broke.
Right, but still, like you look at the first couple of Spider-Man movies. I'm talking about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, you look at him. That's like a more realistic approach than this part. It's like, yeah, he lives in a crappy apartment and he barely can afford food, but he saves people every day instead of focusing on his day. He's a pizza guy. There's that whole that funny meme of him.
He got fired for delivering pizza.
He got fired for delivering pizza. I don't even remember if Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man had a job, and or even else. I mean, Tony Stark, he has the money. Captain America, you could argue, is like he'll have everything paid for by Shield and the government, and he probably gets a paycheck. But everyone else, kind of like, Vision obviously doesn't need anything. Well, Vision
doesn't even need food.
Yeah,
he doesn't. He doesn't need anything. He's just alive. So we definitely need to talk about the two major Easter eggs of hints or seeds to the Young Avengers. Episode 1, we had Joaquin Torres, which takes over the mantle of the Falcon in the comics. And unlike the Falcon that has those artificial wings, this Falcon actually does have real wings. Now, do I think they're going to go with that in this series? I don't think so. I think they're going to just pass down probably Sam Wilson's wings onto him, and that'll lead into the Young Avengers. And then we got Isaiah's grandson, which is the Patriot leader. And he's actually the Captain America version of the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
Which is actually Joaquin Torres, the Falcon. We got Elijah, which is also called Eli in the comics, Eli Bradley. And then we are going to get Kate Bishop with Hawkeye. And not only that, we got what's his name? Wicked
Billy
and
and Tommy,
Speed
yeah.
in WandaVision, which are part of the Young Avengers as well.
Yeah, even though there's nothing slated at this time for Young Avengers, but I think that to bring in those kinds of stories and kind of heroes that are a little bit more obscure, like I'm sure in the comic book world it's a lot more prominent, and it's more picked up. But for wider audiences, I wouldn't expect to know. Like if you told me, oh, who's on the Young Avengers, I'd be like, I don't know, probably versions of the other characters that under different names. But 100% agree with you. I think that they are getting ready. Everyone for the last 20 to 23 movies now, almost just kind of building that up. Now you have this franchise. Now you have all these names and small shows like this that just naturally, if you don't watch, you're gonna be a little lost. Like people are gonna watch them. Doctor Strange. What's it called? Multiverse of Madness. They might be like, okay, why is Scarlet Witch acting the way she's acting? Or
why is she so OP'd and changing the universe?
Right, exactly. So I'm excited. And he only had a very few lines. He may have more lines in a future episode. I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to see those characters.
I definitely don't think this is the last time we're going to see those characters. I mean, not only do we have these characters already, which are absolutely the roster for the Young Avengers, if you read the comics, or for those who didn't, this is the roster for the Young Avengers. And in future time, we're going to be getting Miss Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Which is also associated with the Young Avengers.
Yeah.
And we have Peter Parker right there along, as one of the OG's Avengers, which could lead into a leadership role.
Yeah.
Teaching them.
Well, I heard. So I want to throw you a rumor. I heard about this. So initially, the rumor I had heard was Chadwick Boseman was going to be one of the lead faces. He was going to kind of take over the not Captain America, but the leader position that Captain America had initially filled. And tragically, we lost Chadwick Boseman earlier last year. And because of that, I think what I had heard was they're planning on possibly bringing a version of Captain America back for at least one or two hero, maybe a guest spot or something like that, or potentially having him go into a future movie, somehow bring him back. In comics, characters really never really die, or that's why we have 1,000 different Bruce Waynes. That's why we have 1,000 different, Captain America. Steve Rogers is still here with all the different types. But I had heard something about that, that there was a possibility of him coming back and reprising his role as Captain America. I'm not sure. Again, it's a rumor, so I'm not sure if there's any truth to it.
It's possible that they could bring back Captain America in the Wakanda series. That is
maybe. It could be a voice role too.
They've already stated that there's going to be a whole series of Wakanda. Nobody knows any storylines, any plots, but that may be a good tie-in because there was a seriously good, bromance between Captain America and Black Panther. Their relationship was just so awesome that it could be a possibility that Captain America is gonna help probably Shuri, which I'm almost positive that she's gonna take over the mantle of the Black Panther.
I think that is a good possibility. That's one way of introducing him back into the franchise. But again, it was just a rumor. I don't want to focus on it too much. I just thought that was a bit of interesting.
With a grain of salt.
Take it with a grain of salt. Is the leader of the Flag Smashers.
The latest on episode 1 and 2, probably introducing the Young Avengers. I am almost certain that this is what they're going with in the MCU. What do you guys think? Comment below. What was your favorite part of the series so far? Are you excited that it's only 6 episodes or disappointed that it's 6 episodes? If you like what you saw here today, don't forget to smash the subscribe button, give us a like, turn on the notifications, and we'll see you in the next Fit Nerd. Over and out.